Hello and welcome to election night. A great start there from us here at BBC News. We've just sat here speaking to ourselves for the past, I don't know, 5 or so minutes, discussing things that you can't even see. However, you are joining with us now. We're just waiting for that announcement to get put out, so more of you are tuning in, and then we can get on to the actual content, the meat, if you will, of the election night tonight. So I mean, it's a very exciting place to be in. It's the first election we've had since the relaunch of Britannic Lords United Kingdom. And, I mean, what an election it has been. There have been so many parties. Speaking of parties, I think it'd be a great opportunity now to go through who we have tonight. First, we have Advance, who is led by Robbie, a new party on the scene. They appear to be more left-leaning and have posted quite a lot in campaigning, actually. We then have the Conservative and Unionist Party, led by Defective Kian. They have historically been quite a major party as a contender, however, in more recent times have drifted away, especially under the leadership of JJ. We also have the Labour Party, currently without a leader, again more left-wing, and one of the most electorally successful parties of the United Kingdom. That one is led by none other than no one at the moment, but as I said, but Welshie is currently filling in as interim. There's also Reform UK, which I believe is led by JJ, but I wouldn't know because he's not been very active in the first place. But that is a general overview of all the parties that are currently here in today's election. I mean, I think we've got some shocking results to deliver tonight. Definitely a lot to go over. But yeah, the first proper election since we've restarted. So I guess let's just get into the election. But currently at the moment, how this usually goes is we wait for the results to come in. Currently we have none from the Electoral Commission. However, whilst we do wait, we'll try and give you some company, try and explain some of the information that we're getting on as the night goes along. I'm also joined by Robbie here, the main presenter for BBC News tonight.
Hello.
Hi. And I am sure that we are going to have a very exciting night tonight.
Indeed we are.
I mean, let's just quickly go over what we've seen in the campaign channel so far. I will say one thing. We have seen a very, very fierce battle from Advance here. I mean,
Oh yes, definitely.
There's so many posts here from them. But earlier, something that's more interesting is earlier we did see a lot from the Conservative government.
We did.
Well, but they, in more recently, didn't post as much after their manifesto release. However, we also saw a bit from Labour, who personally they were my favourite graphics. Very nice. To be fair, Advances have some very nice graphics too. We also had 2 elections, I believe. Something I will note actually is the Labour Party said they were going to release their manifesto on 15th of July. That never happened. But I mean, let's quickly go ahead and review the Conservative Party manifesto. Something else important to mention is the new boundaries that are joining us for this election. A new system, it's also new as a system, but now Wales has more seats than they did originally have, as was announced by the Electoral Commission. We are now moving to 17 seats with the inclusion of the Speaker's seat still. But the main changes was the fact that Wales got larger and, well, the map actually makes a bit more sense this time because
definitely.
I don't know who drew the last map. I mean, it definitely wasn't me who was 13 and had no clue about counties in England, or how bad it was to be merging like the entire south coast. But someone competent drew them this time, and may I say they look fabulous.
Absolutely.
These are going to be great new boundaries for today's election. I will say the Conservative Party manifesto. Now, this comes from Defective Kian, a man who I have seen in many other groups. And let me tell you one thing: he knows how to make a good-looking manifesto. It's not my favourite manifesto ever released, but probably as a Britannic Lords United Kingdom, apart from my own, that's a joke. This one is probably the best one I have seen so far, graphic-wise. It's very nice, and it has a lot of personal touches, I will say, and the more vibrant poppy colours, more modern aesthetics that we usually see in UK groups.
My only critique of the Conservatives manifesto, besides the strong, short, it's very short. It's very short and sweet, with only 7 pages to it. My only critique other than that is that they focused quite a majority of 2 pages to Wales, which I find to be quite interesting from them.
I mean,
Um,
I won't be providing a critique of any of the manifestos tonight. That's certainly not my place. But I do like the inclusion of my photos. I did take some very good photos back in the day. I'm just gonna glaze myself this entire election stream, so I hope you're all ready to listen to that. But the advanced manifesto, massive. I mean, they still, compared to some of our older manifestos. I mean, again, thinking about when I was a leader, I think mine and Archie's, they were quite long. You always had a lot of words on each pages. These ones are a lot shorter in that sense, but
mm,
Advanced probably has around the same word count per slide as the Conservative one. However, there are significantly more advanced slides. So it's very interesting to see how. I mean, some people would say that as a good thing, some people would say it as a bad thing, you know, more the
yes,
better.
definitely.
But then others would say a more concise manifesto is what people are bothered to read. I mean, personally, I don't like reading long manifestos. I just want to see the few short bullet points, which is also super easy to implement. I mean, you just put in the, I mean, again, some of the manifestos that I've written in other groups, I would have my big section, and then I'd have, like, the 3 main policies that we're going to focus on. Just in case no one wants to read it, because let's be honest, there's a very significant amount of people in in every grow nation who don't want to sit there reading a manifesto on the weekend. Um, so yeah, it's very nice to see that we're releasing manifestos again. Last election, I don't think we had any manifesto releases. I may have released one, but I don't think I did. No, I didn't.
I believe the Scottish National Party released one.
Oh yes, I think they re-released their manifesto.
Mm.
Yeah, they did.
One thing I've noted throughout the election is that it's been quite two-sided. It's been between Advance and the Conservatives mainly.
Yeah, and that is something we've usually seen. I mean, it has usually been two-party politics. Again,
Mm.
so I'm going back to like my times, but I always remember I would be one of the two largest parties. It would either be me and Reform or me and Labour, something along that line. And it was very competitive, you know.
Mm.
And it's nice to see that competitive nature coming back here, where Advance and Conservative, they were really battling it out. Labour
Mm.
kind of
Well,
kind of dodged that
The
actually.
problem with Labour this election has been the as much as I'd say it's sort of lack of attention to the campaigning channel. As much as they posted initial few messages there, other than that, there's been quite little from them. Um, I believe that's mainly to do with the leadership situation that they've been undergoing over the time of the election, which I don't think has helped them.
Yeah, so that is a very interesting point to bring up. But I would say that maybe in Labour's actual in their aid actually, they have been staying out of the limelight.
Oh yes, definitely.
They're not getting the same attacks that other parties would be getting.
That may resonate more
Especially
with some
Advance. But yeah.
less populist voters.
But yeah, it is super interesting to see the effort that a lot of the parties have put in to this election. I mean, I remember, oh, if only Frank the Tank was here. Frank the Tank was an amazing party leader. I do miss him. And then we also had Blueberry. He's not an election leader this time, but he's probably. I mean, I would personally class him as the most successful.
I just have to interrupt you here.
Oh,
We've got the first count that's been called by the Electoral Commission. We've got the first two constituencies that have been counted and released, which is Chiltern and Thames Valley to the Conservatives and Unionist Party.
and then we also have Cornwall and Dorset going to advance. Very interesting results there. I mean, there's not much you can go off of. It's 1-1 at the moment. 1-1. But yes, that is a. It's too early in the election to really make anything of that. But what I will say is Chiltern and Thames Valley, where I live, is usually more of a left-wing kind of area. I mean, I think my local constituency voted Lib Dem. But yeah, seeing Conservatives, it did vote Conservative during, the Brexit era. Something else to mention is the Electoral Commission can confirm the turnout was 45 with 2 disqualified votes.
I believe that's the highest turnout this UK's had.
Not ever, but since the
ever since the.
But then again, this is the first election since the restart. But so what I was saying though, with Blueberry, I would personally class him as probably one of the. He's probably the best, the most proficient party leader that wasn't in that kind of inner circle. He was more of an extension of that. I mean, he succeeded me, and he became Prime Minister, I believe. And then I think he resigned, or I can't actually remember what happened to him. But he didn't run in the next election. But yeah, we're seeing this a very nice battle again. A lot of these people aren't actually in that circle of influence anymore. There hasn't actually been a group staff contender or anyone who was a part of it. I mean, Arthur kind of did run for a bit, but he didn't ultimately run to the end. So, but Labour has been a very large contender of many elections. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this time. So yeah, it will be quite cool to see how everything. Something else I will mention here is there was the concern about the party leaders did release a statement regarding a few decisions taken by the Electoral Commission to disqualify some votes, which was received negatively, and it seems that has been overturned here with 2 disqualified votes. When it seemed to be the party leaders were upset about quite a few.
It's quite interesting to mention that Advance was the only party not to sign such a document alongside the other party leaders, which is quite interesting.
Something else to mention is the Conservative Party also withdrew their signature.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Yes.
But it did seem it has had an effect, considering the Electoral Commission has removed some of those disqualified votes, because we can assume it was a bit more than 2. And we will be seeing more results come in shortly, hopefully.
It is quite interesting to also note that Cornwall and Dorset usually are quite conservative-leaning places, and the fact that Advance has managed to secure the constituency is quite surprising.
It could signify where they've done better in even constituencies they wouldn't be expected to win in.
Yes.
Is that the votes have kind of spilled over, if you will, that they've done so well in other areas, they simply cannot. The votes have to go somewhere else, and it ends up in more right-leaning places. So this could be a very early sign of
I agree with
Advance's electoral dominance. However, this might not always be the case.
We've got a second count that's come through now.
Second count.
Harebath has gone to Labour. The East Midlands has gone to Advance.
And then East Anglia to the Conservative and Unionist Party.
That is a very surprising vote there. There's that is very surprising. De Harebath is quite a conservative place, but I suppose the South South Welsh Valleys have carried that Labour vote across with their quite left-leaning populace. The East Midlands to advance. That's also quite surprising because the East Midlands is also quite a conservative area. Then East Anglia to the Conservatives and Unionist Party is not much of a surprise due to it being within the Conservative boundaries. But the De Gea Bath going to Labour is very surprising, but
Something
that
else to
could
make
be
of
a sign.
these results I'll quickly mention. So now it's currently 2 to Advance and 2 to the Conservatives, and Labour's trailing behind here. Again, it's too early to say anything too definitively.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
we've got 5 out of 17 seats, so only 25%-ish. No, 32%. So yeah, probably something around 28% of seats released. But already Advance and the Conservatives are polling quite high. Again, for the fact that they've been announced so early, would kind of signify
yes.
to me that they have had quite good electoral success. Because usually, I mean, if they have more constituencies overall, then they're more likely to be announced. You know, it's just basic probability.
Yes.
So we could, again, it's too early to say, but with elections like this, you're always making predictions. You're always trying to figure out, you know, what's happening. So I think we can say around 15 votes have been counted so far. There's still another 30 to go. Oh, and we've immediately got
yes.
another
Oh dear.
announcement.
That's quite quick.
Electoral Commission is on it tonight. Finally upgraded the system for giving the results. So Gloucestershire has gone to Labour.
Gwynedd has gone to Advance.
And then finally Hampshire to the Conservative and Unionist Party. So
that is surprising.
3-3-2, 3 to the Advance and to Conservatives, and then 2 to Labour. Something that I would say is quite concerning for any of those Reform voters is you still haven't gotten anything just yet. I'm sure Reforms.
It's quite surprising that we've seen Gloucestershire go to Labour because I believe Gloucestershire is quite a conservative area.
This is quite in line with politics within BLUK. You usually find that left-wing parties ultimately do better, but again, each area has its own set, you know, thing. Like in real life, we usually go off of that.
Yes.
So, like an area like London, will always go to a left-wing party. I don't think it ever's gone to a right-wing party. Whereas somewhere like, I think Norfolk, that kind of area, that East Anglia, that's usually been a more right-wing conservative area.
Yes.
So
it's I believe Advance has benefited from their very open Welshness during this election and has managed to secure, what if I'd say one of the most important constituencies in Wales, being Gwynedd.
They have a majority in the Welsh area now. 2 out of the 3 seats, and we don't have the third one yet. But historically, Labour, especially in real life, Labour has always done quite well in Wales. Something else that could be interesting to see here is a Labour Advance Conservative tie. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen it, and it most certainly won't be the last. But it does always make quite interesting results.
Yes.
Because that usually places the third largest party as the kingmaker. I mean, if we left with this circumstances right now, then Labour would likely be the kingmaker of this election. Obviously, we still have many more seats to go. But, I mean, again, from this early estimate, we can say that Advance or the Conservatives are likely going to be in the next election. More of a 50-50 right now. As the election night goes on, I mean, it could go to like 33-33 with like other parties joining in. I mean, Labour could also certainly form a government if they got with a smaller party like Reform. If Reform gets the seats for it.
We have to take into account that recounts are possible for some of these seats that are announced now and are announced in future, so it's quite hard to make a tell of what will happen. There's definitely a chance that we could see a Labour Advance coalition if that does come about with a hung parliament, considering they're both left-leaning parties.
If we're going off of what we can predict so far, is that would also be a very not a very unstable coalition, but it could face more
Yes,
controversy.
definitely.
It could face more difficult foundations, because usually when there's a kingmaker party with a smaller one and a larger one, that's a lot easier to manage, because the smaller one's only going to be on 1 or 2 ministerial positions, whereas 2 large ones, it can create quite large clashes. Sometimes even rotating prime ministers, which I don't think we've seen in the UK just yet. I mean, our terms have never lasted long enough. But something else that's quite important to note here, actually, is Reform have asked to coalition with the Conservatives, says
Yes.
the Tory leader, which currently would have no effect on the election, as Reform doesn't have any seats. But if Conservatives get enough seats and Reform has 1 or 2, then again they could definitely be a kingmaker. To get a majority in tonight's election, 17, half of 17 would be 8.5. So you would need 9 seats to form a majority. Now, I mean, the Conservative and Unionist and Advance, they're both at 3 seats, so 33% of the way there. But there's likely won't see them get a majority in totality, sorry. But we will see, you know, as things go on, as the night develops, whether you know, see what potential coalitions there could be. We don't currently have a majority of seats announced yet. We have 8. So we're just waiting for the Electoral Commission to deliver more of those results. But as we can see here in Hidefield, quite an active SSU. We've got the police tailing a vehicle here. Yeah, just I hope everyone here voted. I mean, they most likely did. More active communities do tend to vote here. And it's also important to mention some of those votes, as mentioned earlier, could be spoiled.
We've just got some counts in. Kent and Surrey has gone to Advance, Lancashire and Cumbria to Labour, and London and Essex to Advance.
That is quite a change up. That's
yes.
Quite a yeah. So with the Conservatives not earning any at all, that has placed Advance on 5 seats, Labour on 3, and Conservatives on 3.
Advance would be currently winning then.
Yes, Advance is currently ahead in the polls at the moment. It's not a devastating blow to the Tory party. However, I believe that's 12 seats announced now. 11 seats announced now, with 6 more to go. That is quite the
That's quite a surprising outcome. There is quite a surprising outcome there.
And again, we're seeing Advance in these more right-wing areas. Sorry.
Yes.
Kent and Surrey is historically a very right-wing
rich
area, and we're seeing them vote Advance as well. London and Essex, not as much surprise there, left-wing areas. But it's still very interesting to see that Advance is winning even right-wing votes. I mean, akin to many majorities that some countries. But yeah, it is a very. These results so far are they're definitely different from what some people may have expected. You know, the Conservatives and the Advance Party are very neck and neck, and it's not changed from that. But the Tories would have to gain 2 seats, and how it's been going so far, Advance has always had at least 1 seat every single announcement. So this could be the lead that Advance needs.
I believe that Advance's socially conservative stance has definitely benefited them in these right-wing areas.
Socially conservative?
Yes.
Oh, I've never heard of that ideology.
Advance is economically left and socially conservative.
Oh, so appealing to the both of the masses. Which usually can alienate voters, but in other cases it can also help them, because obviously people have different beliefs and everything. But something that we have always seen in this group is, you know, more centrist parties have always done better. For example, the Social People's Party, again, going back to old BLUK here. It never historically did as well as Labour in the polls, and that could be down to the fact they were very openly socialist. I mean, they had a very socialist name, the Social People's Party, compared to something like Labour. But like real life, we can also see here that there tends to be more of a lean towards centre-leaning parties than, outright left, outright right. And I think, again, it's very tactful, I think that's the right word, of the party leaders here to not lean too much into either of those.
The Electoral Commission can now confirm and project that Advance will be the largest party in Parliament, regardless of the next two counts. Wow, that's quite an interesting confirmation from the Electoral Commission, dear.
The Electoral Commission doesn't usually do things like that, which I find quite surprising. It's usually the BBC that makes these projections, but
But we still don't know whether Advance will get a majority or they will have a minority. Despite the fact that
they're a coalition. I think again a coalition could be very likely here. I actually think that if we count up, Advance has 4, 5, and then Labour's on 3. That is just barely not scraping a coalition, but they are very close to one. Again, if Labour or Advance get a seat this next count, then that is definitely a coalition that's on the table, something that could happen. But again, it would be two fairly large parties collaborating here. They may even seek to work with a right-wing party, which
the surprising part about this is the fact that the Electoral Commission that confirmed that Advance will be the largest party. That may mean that there may be a majority Advance government, because we haven't seen the Electoral Commission do this at all before. So this may be a bit of a premonition.
We have
just
more results, and we can first announce that Advance and Labour can now officially form a coalition. Northern Ireland has gone to the Conservative and Unionist Party. Powys, the last Welsh constituency, has gone to Labour, so Labour has a full house actually in Wales. And then we also have the Scottish Lowlands going to Advance. Advance now sits on a comfortable 6 seats, 4 to Labour. And then we've got 4 to the Conservative and Unionist Party. They are trailing behind here actually from the Conservative, from Labour and Advance. What's interesting is the Conservative leader said, I do believe he said he would resign in the event that the election did not go successfully. I'm not 100% sure where I saw that. I remember seeing it, but that might be wrong. I'm not sure if that's still the case.
I believe the Conservative leader would be quite pleased with the fact that they have gained Northern Ireland.
Yeah, one of their key policies has definitely been to. Sorry, as if England won the World Cup. My bad. It had been very It seems to be very beneficial to the Conservative and Unionist Party to have. Sorry, no, it was Labour that got the Welsh seats. Never mind. Maybe campaigning for Northern Irish devolution worked out for the Conservatives. Northern Ireland, again, I'm pretty sure that's more of a left-wing leaning area. I wouldn't quote me on myself on that. But
I can confirm that I do not believe it is due to historical reasons. But I still believe your point is intact.
Yeah, never mind, it is right-wing.
Yeah.
I just imagine Ireland as this big left-wing woke place. No, I'm joking.
Scottish Highlands have been called to Advance. That is surprising. Scottish Highlands to Advance.
I believe that's 7 seats now. Hold on, 1, 2,
7
seats.
seats.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 seats. Very shy of a majority. It could even be. They still have the chance for a majority. It's a very low chance. They would need to get the rest of the seats because there's only 2 more seats to declare. They would need to get all 2 of the seats to get a majority. However, if they do, then that will be our first majority, a very small majority, but our first majority we've seen in a very long time.
Yes.
And in the event that this is a majority, it will, or even if it's not a majority, they definitely have the support, it seems, of the people to form a minority government. Whether that may be in their best interest is debatable. Usually, confidence and supply isn't a common tactic. Sometimes out of national stability interests, or understanding that you can't get more than that. You're not going to be able to join the government and get more things. And for example, I think there was a confidence and supply between the Conservatives and some Scottish seats
I
in real life, where during Brexit.
I
Oh,
have
West
got a.
Midlands has gone to
Ooh.
advance a very historically left-wing constituency. Actually, that's a seat that I personally sat in when I was leading those more left-wing parties. So again, returning back to the left wing, the West Midlands. I mean, it did recently go right wing. I think it was Reform in one of the most recent elections. But it's returned to the left wing, as is like I think it is in real life. I think they actually might
Yes.
vote very Lib Dem as well. I think it's both.
We have got a well, you name it as a leak from what is supposed to be the advance cabinet that they are proposing bringing back the, if I'm correct in this, the Lord. Sorry, what is that? I can't bloody read. The First Lord of the Admiralty if they win. That's
So who announced that?
that's coming from the Advance Cabinet. I've been told that.
Oh,
Apparently, that Advance is planning to bring back the First Lord of the Admiralty if they win the general election. That would be quite historic. That would be, because
we have had
that
a
was a.
maybe before, I do believe. That was led by someone else, so a very long time ago now. We do actually own the ships to do so.
But it's quite surprising because the Lord of the. Oh, I keep forgetting the name of it. What is it again? The Lord of the. First Lord of the Admiralty. There we go. The First Lord of the Admiralty was abolished, if I'm correct, in 1964. I don't believe the world's held that rank since then. That would be quite a historic sort of restoration by Advance if they did that when they win. That's all I have.
Oh wow, I haven't actually heard of this title before. Something I will say, something else to say here is the final seat, and the one that I'm sure Advance is praying ever so heavily for, just to get that majority. They're one seat off of that majority. Could definitely form a somewhat stable minority. Now, minorities aren't usually stable, but stable in the sense that it would be it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, it's a very comfortable minority. There's not much, you can't go higher than that. But it's Yorkshire, Northumberland, which has historically been more of a conservative, area. Has been home to more than three prime ministers hold the seats. So to be held by.
I think that in Yorkshire and Northumberland, I think that the Advance's more conservative-leaning social side may give them the win here, or it may shock Advance and go to the Conservatives. Who knows?
If this does go to the Conservatives, it would give them more of an edge than Labour, because Labour currently would be quite large as well. Whether this last seat is, could definitely be a majority. Now, personally, I'm not sure if I should say this, but I've never been a massive fan of majorities. I believe that it doesn't allow a government to be held as accountable as, say...
Yes, I fully agree.
A coalition government.
One thing to note is that despite this being a seat that determines a majority, there is still more seats to come after this seat.
Oh no,
so,
no, this is the final seat.
Is it? I thought it was 17. You already count 17.
Yeah, that it would be the 17th. Hold on, let me. 1, 2,
I've never been very good at math. I do apologise.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So yeah, this is the final seat. So looking at how this parliament will be formed of and who will be inside of it, there will definitely be a very, very large consensus for Advance. No doubt about that. The people have definitely gone out to the polls and voted
Yes.
for them today. However, very closely behind, something that maybe not as expected, is Labour. Labour has done very well this election, a lot better than some people may have predicted, considering their
Yes,
lack of
definitely.
posts. But we also
I
then
think
got
that
the
may have
Conservative
helped them. I think that
Party.
may have helped them definitely in avoiding a lot of the controversy around
Yeah,
the two main parties of the election. In that sense, I think they've done a good job in
yeah. By
doing
avoiding
that.
by avoiding the main, battle of everything, they've actually seemed to be able to get off the hook and secure quite a few votes compared to the Conservatives, who haven't done as well as they were expected. They've still done very well in this election. They're currently the third largest party, and could be joint second largest party, which would also make it an interesting situation on who the largest opposition would be.
Yes, definitely. You still haven't had any calling of seats yet, but I think a more appropriate discussion would be going to where do the parties go from here
I mean,
after.
let's imagine in this scenario that imagine the more interesting scenario where Advance does not gain the majority. Advance has many
Yes.
options. They could go with any one of the parties and form a coalition. The only way they'd be able to be beaten is if every other single party went against that. Something else that's important to mention about this final seat: there's a very high likelihood that it could go to reform. In these smaller systems, even getting just 1 or 2 votes usually means you can get a seat. Simply because of how the election, how we distribute the seats. So even getting maybe 2, 3 votes, that's enough to win you just 1 seat, which could change how the election composition would have turned out. So, but yes, in the scenario where we say that Advance does make it, we could be seeing a Frankenstein coalition where every other party, I mean, would go against the.
We've seen this. We've seen this happen before. And an example is Germany in the red and green light coalition, which is all of the right wing AfD and the if I'm calling it correctly, Green Party of Germany coalitioned against the Social Democrats. I think that it's quite likely that not likely, but I suppose it's not in complete disregard that the Conservatives and Labour could coalition against Advance to prevent them from entering government if they believe them to be, wouldn't use the word threat, but I see no other alternative to it. But there's no real stopping them from doing that.
I can't personally say that I can predict a grand coalition. I don't
No,
think
I
we've actually
wouldn't
seen
predict.
a grand coalition before in our UK, at least definitely not in recent times. But a grand coalition could
The
mean
Labour have ruled out coalitioning against Advance. Sorry,
so
apologies for
it's
the.
basically guaranteed that Advance will go into this into the government now. However, something important to note here is it may be in Advance's own benefit and own interest that they do not try and form a coalition at all.
Yes, I fully agree with that.
That one minority, that one seat could still give them a very, very strong minority. Especially if the other parties aren't organised enough to form a coalition, then they likely aren't strong enough or organised enough to deny the government as well. So, like I said, I think a grand coalition is unlikely. A grand coalition would be unlikely because Advance doesn't have a massive reason to go with Labour. It's such a large amount of seats with people who will want a lot. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Sorry, no. Let me rephrase. Labour may not want to go into. No, Advance may not want to go into coalition with Labour due to the fact that Labour, being such a large party, will want a very large amount of cabinet positions as well, which can make it quite undesirable to go into coalitions like these. So we may again see that the Advanced Party tries to coalition with the Conservatives instead, or like I said, goes with a minority. Something else that's interesting is, and slightly worrying in fact, is we haven't actually seen any proposed cabinets yet. We have had news from Labour that their shadow cabinet will include a member of the BLUK ownership for the last group.
We have seen also from Advance the rumour, and I'll stress it's still a rumour, that they'll bring back the Lord Admiral Sea Lord, whatever his name is. The Conservatives, there's been no sort of no comments or rumours or any teasing from them, so it's quite surprising that we've seen from the two left-wing parties about their soon-to-be cabinets and shadow cabinets. And we haven't seen anything from the Conservatives.
So the First Lord of the Admiralty, I'm actually quite interested in this because I've never heard of this.
I'll stress it's still a rumour at the. I'll stress that it's still a rumour in.
So it's usually held what appears to be by a Lords member, but its department got merged into the Defence Secretary of State for Defence.
So that may mean that Advance might be thinking of splitting up the Ministry of Defence, but obviously that's only a rumour. There's been no confirmation of that, but the role.
Yeah, so we could be seeing them actually split up the Secretary of the Defence Department, which may not be too bad of an idea. I mean, the military has always been a very active part of BLUK. It's not the most active sector in this one, but in the old one, it was very active, maybe the most active. So it'll be very interesting.
Alongside the Advance Party leaders, promises of bringing in people for the army. So this could coincide with a plan to have a better coordinated army with newer people.
So yeah, it will definitely be quite the quite the interesting result.
We've got the count in Yorkshire and Northumberland have gone to the Conservative and Unionist Party.
So overall, the vote count. Well, first, what this means for all the parties. So, Advance has just fallen short of a majority. They are officially the largest party. That is all the seats declared. Advance is the largest party in Parliament, followed by the Labour Party, which sits on. So Advance sits on 8 seats. Labour is currently sitting on a comfortable 4. So 3. Yeah, I think that's 4. Yeah, 4 seats held by the Labour Party, 4 by the Tories, and then 0 for Reform. We can announce that Advance got 44% of the vote, an astonishing amount. Labour on 27.9% of the vote, Tories on 23.3%, and Reform on just 4.7%. Reform, that is a very low turnout for Reform. You know, historically very powerful party. But we're not here to talk about the losers of tonight's election. We're here to talk about the winners. And Advance is significantly large. Like, I mean, 44.2% of the vote with 8 seats. It's the closest we've gotten to a majority in a very long time without actually reaching said majority. And
how many seats does Advance on again?
8.
8.
9 for a majority. So that will be 8 people that they have to appoint to those positions, which will be interesting to see if they can fill. Usually the biggest test of a party after their election is can they appoint people to their party, and then after that is can they govern, can they talk the talk, can they walk the walk.
Yes. We have just had confirmation from the deputy leader of the Advance Party that they are indeed planning to reintroduce the office of the First Lord of the Admiralty.
So what will I mean? Do we know who Advance may be coalitioning with? Are they going to coalition, or are they going to go into minority? I mean, it's quite an interesting.
I believe Advance will not be seeking a coalition and will be focusing on forming a minority government.
They are definitely certainly powerful enough, but they would need to seek confidence and supply from all the other parties if everyone shows up in full force. Um, but we can expect the state opening to be next week on the Sunday, I do believe, which will be very interesting to see. There's a Conservative notice coming in at 9:27.
We've got an advance notice coming in just after that at what's the time now? Sorry, I can't read. At 9:35 there will be a advance notice, so it would be interesting to see what the both parties have got to say about um, their victories. I suppose. I mean, it's a victory for both sides. There's definitely. Sorry, 1 second.
So whilst we wait for that Conservative notice, I mean, it it certainly hasn't panned out how they wanted it to go. I think the Conservatives were definitely within the idea that they were going to be a very large party, so they were going to be one of the top two. But as the UK has usually turned out to show, the two largest parties are actually left wing. Which again lines up with some of our other votes. I mean, the largest parties have always been some kind of left wing party. I mean, Labour. It was only under Archie that the right wing even saw a bit of success. Um,
I believe it's down to personal charisma mainly, on regards to a lot of these things. And while the left have had some great successes within the UK, I suppose it's a majority down to how the individual acts regarding their parties. And obviously, since I stress again that Advance is not a single left-wing party, it is a syncretic party. So it's got two sides of the spectrum within it. But it definitely is important to note that they are a majority left party regarding economics, which is the most important part of a party. So it's very surprising to see that Advance have beaten the Labour Party to secure the majority. Left vote. But it is also important to note that Advance is not a single issue left wing party.
So it will be very interesting to see how. First, we want to see what this Conservative notice could be. I mean, it could be a resignation. It could be a statement reaffirming their ambition to keep fighting. So we will have to just wait and see what happens here. But I am on the edge of my seat, just waiting to see what the. Do you want to type any louder?
I do apologise. I will go mute.
Thank you. Oh dear. I keep saying a lot. You know, I haven't done this in a while. You know, it's been a while since I've been up here at the BBC. Oh God, I just said it again. We now have the statement from the Conservative Party leader. They have stated, the Conservative Party will not be filling every seat this term due to the tiny amount of members in the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party thanks everyone who has voted for us in these elections. Although we didn't succeed, we are proud to represent the state of Northern Ireland. The Conservative Party also refuses to boycott the Parliament, like we've been told by some people, who will be anonymous. The reason for not filling our seats is because of limited amounts of members in our party. Leader will stay in his seat for a good while and will not resign until needed. So that is confirming that the Conservatives will keep fighting on until the bitter end, which is nice to see. You know, usually party leaders will come and go and then they'll just up and leave. And it's always been my firm belief that not only do you need a strong Prime Minister who will be active, you need a strong leader of the opposition who will also be active. Someone who keeps holding the Prime Minister to account. Again, when my most active terms was when I was against people who were actually quite competent in being leader of the opposition. And I mean, Archie was also quite active when I was the leader of the opposition. I'm not saying I was great. I mean, Archie was definitely active by himself, and the only reason we lost that activity was because Archie resigned. So it is very cool to see that, we're having these parties stay on and continue fighting, the good fight.
Yes, and I believe we are seeing an early advance notice. Advance Advanced leader Aisha Rotica thanks the British public for entrusting her and her party with the United Kingdom. We've also got two additional points, being Advance will be discussing coalition options, possibly with Labour, if they cannot see the confidence of Parliament with their minority. And Advance also confirms the Defence Department will be divided, as well as the creation of two other ministerial posts split from others. I think it's important to note that this is quite significant, as the last real ministerial shuffle was in 1964. Um,
Well,
so
in
this
in
is
the group, hold on, I'll quickly get some historical context in the group. The offices of the government have changed over time. I think even under my party, I think we merged foreign affairs and defence. Don't quote me on that. We may have kept them separate, but this is the first time we're actually seeing any kind of idea where the defence is actually split up between different
yes.
ministerial portfolios. So it'll be interesting to see how Advance does it. It seems to be one of their big campaign promises at the moment. Oh, I didn't actually see it in the. I don't see it written in a manifesto. Again, I don't read manifestos. I probably shouldn't be admitting that now, but they just bore me, They look really
I don't
nice.
blame you. I prefer spoken.
Yes, I can very happily listen to someone do it, but reading manifestos. Sorry, I like writing manifestos.
Mm.
Difficult to come up with the
It,
ideas, but
it will be interesting to see who Advance puts forward for their split up defence department. And obviously, to note, this will not change anything about the British Army besides a leadership within it. There probably will be a Minister of Defence overall, and there will just be departments within the Ministry of Defence that will be representing each, department. Um, Obviously, this is not really much of a significant change to the army, but it is definitely a significant change in ministerial history, as as you said, there's not been very much to do with the Defence Department. As well, would be interesting to see the creation of two other ministerial posts split from others. That would be quite interesting to see what Advance does with that. There seems to be a lot of focus on ministerial departments by them, and it'll be also to see whether they go ahead with a coalition. Personally, I don't see that happening unless, obviously, they cannot command the confidence of the House. But I believe Advance is quite a self-confident party by what I've seen from them.
well, I believe it is time to begin closing off the stream. Um,
Yes,
so let's just go over what we saw tonight. We had Advance at 8 seats, forming the largest party. Labour and Conservatives on 4 seats. A quite shocking result for Conservatives. I'm sure they're expecting a bit higher. I just want to make sure the maths correct. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm missing a seat. I think Labour's actually on 5. So the Conservatives are the smallest party and the third party. However, that does give them quite significant power still. The third largest party leader always sits on the Privy Council, along with the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister. And they are still quite vital, especially in more modern time, in real life. They become more important. Yes, Advance will. It is up to Advance what they do, whether Advance goes ahead and attempts to form a minority, or if they go ahead and try and attempt to form a coalition with someone. just depends on whether Labour comes over to them and says, you know what, we only want Deputy Prime Minister and one ministerial portfolio. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. Unless Robbie has anything else to say.
No, I believe I've said everything we can. I wish all the party leaders the best of luck, especially the Prime Minister and now the Leader of the Opposition. I wish everyone a very happy evening and a good night.
Well,
And that's all I have to say.
That's all from us from tonight. You've been listening to BBC News, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evenings. Good night.